Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question that came into customer service from Louis Kish, and Louis says, Don, I've been using your swing technique for 2 years and playing very well, thank you, and 2 instructors out here in California. So now I have time to focus on the very short game. For short chip shots, when I need a short, low running shot, I place the ball off my right foot, right-handed golfer, and wait out on the front foot, club face square with the square body alignment. From that setup, which movement is more reliable and repeatable under pressure? Right arm bending and unbending, right wrist cocking, and arms or shoulders pivoting. Thanks. Okay, Louis, let's see if we can help you here. All right, so what you're talking about is you're hitting a chip shot, okay? Now, chip shots can be hit with anything from a 4-iron, if you're really, really close to the green and you got 50, 60, 70, 80 feet of green to chip to the flag, and especially if you got one that is got a level in it for going from one level to another. When you get really long, the less club you have, the less swing you can make. So if you're hitting a long chip shot, say with a 7-iron, or maybe instead your 4-iron, well, most of you don't have a 4-iron, so we'd have to go down to 5 or 6-iron, and the less loft there is, the lower the ball will stay, and the less swing you can make to use it. And so that, I think that sometimes really, really long ones like that, I might almost prefer the chip shot rather than a putt off the fringe. Now I'm really close, okay? Now if I was back a little bit farther and I had a little bit more loft to get to the green and then roll it, that would be more like a pitch and run, all right? So both of these shots are a little bit different, okay? Let's start with the chip shot. Say I'm only a couple feet to maybe a yard or two off the green, and I just basically hit it in the air a couple feet or a couple yards max, drop it on the green, and has plenty of room to run out like a putt. That's why we want the chip and runs. We can read it like a putt, and therefore the ball's going to stay low and run like a putt. Well, when I'm doing chip shots, I'm going to keep the ball maybe more in the center and get my weight a little bit more forward. Club back and club through. There will be no wrist cock, okay? As soon as you start cocking your wrists, you're breaking the muscle tone in your arms, you're breaking the muscles up, and you're going to lose touch and feel, sensitivity, and you're going to create too steep an angle, likely could chop down on it, and therefore pop the ball up in the air or hit it chunky. So therefore, it's some people even think about the chip is almost like a somewhat close to your putting shot, your putting stroke, okay? So I'm just going to get in here, keep the ball forward. Now, if I was a little bit farther, I could put it a little bit farther back, but at some point, you start getting your hands too far forward, you're going to de-loft it so much, you might actually hit down on the ball a little bit with it, put a little bit of backspin on it, so when it hits, it might start grabbing the green a little bit and skidding more, and that will take off distance and could affect the direction. So I don't want the ball, when I'm hitting a long chip, I don't want the ball, so to speak, catching that what I call nibble, where it might nibble and change everything. So basically center, get your weight a little bit forward, hands always under the sternum, straight back, straight through, and as you said, a little bit of pivoting, the less the better. And so, because again, we want to stay very, very still. We don't want our angles to change. We want to keep the center stable. So you get a little forward. If you get too far forward, then and your back foot's off the ground, I think you're in a poor balanced position. If you get the hands too far forward to the sternum, you can chop them, chunk them, or come out of them because you're trying to have to hold on. The key is that the left thumb has to be under the sternum. So it's just back and through at the target. All right. Keep this and this relatively together. The top of the club and the sternum together. All right, this is very well covered in the short game video that I did with Kenny Knox. Now, if you're going to go back, I'll put the 6-iron back. If you're going to talk about hitting a pitch and run, say we're going to go to a 9-iron, a pitching wedge, you can even do these with a sand wedge. I'll take my pitching wedge out here. Now that means I'm farther back off the green. I could be back as far as 10, 15 yards and hit a pitch and run. Naturally, once I landed on the green, the ball's going to roll out more to the target, okay? So I got a lot more space between the edge of the green and the target so that I can hit the shot low and run. So naturally, if I stand here with a regular pitching wedge and just make a regular swing, I could probably almost hit this over the net, which is about this high, which is about 15 feet in front of me. So with a pitch shot, I'm going to want to drop it, and as we get farther away from the green, we extend our drop point farther onto the green because we don't want the ball landing in the fringe, and probably the worst place to get land is on the edge of the fringe, right on that point, because that's like hitting a downslope. It just kicks the ball even farther than you normally hit it. and very likely offline too. So in a normal pitch and run, we're going to take the ball maybe in the middle, just get a little bit more forward if I want a little bit more height to have it run out, and I'm still going to make the same swing. No wrist cock. If you start cocking the wrists, you're very likely going to cock them up. You're not going to get the club back far enough and create enough energy, and it's going to be very likely that if you move forward at all, even if you turn, you're going to get ahead and have a big probability of chunking the ball. Or if you sense you might chunk it and you pull out of it, then you scull it. All right? So stay relatively still, just back and through, and make the chip, and it's going to land on the green. Now, if I'm going to use this club and I want it to stay lower and really run more, I might put it back as you said, but even if I put it back, I'm still going to what? I'm going to come back and through, and I'm going to make my straight back slight rotation, toe up of the club, just like we do at every shot. A lot of times when we see these shots, people are coming back shut, which just has them chunking the ball. You have to still come back with the rotation so that when you turn your body back to the ball and your arms straighten out with no wrist cock, that everything will straighten out at the ball and nip it. So if I put it back a little bit, I'm more forward. I'm still keeping this top of thumb in line with my sternum. I'm going to come back toe up, and I'm only going to use the amount of motion that basically this small swinging of the club creates. The less motion, the better. You start over motioning it, you're in trouble. And this same thing about quiet knees applies here, because if I get in here and do stuff, and I've seen people even chipping, going here and getting the knees going. This is like doing surgery, folks. You're down close to the ball, you still got to keep the knees very level to your levers and stabilizers. If you need them level and stable with a driver, you need them just as much here, as well as in putting. Okay? So yes, I think everything you had was just about on target, Louis, and I accept the fact that no wrist cocking. And anything to do with pitching and running, there's no wrist cocking. In fact, we say there's no wrist cocking in the entire swing. If I had to hit more loft, I just lift the club up more with my hands, and I make sure I come up and swing through and can pop the club up in the air and the ball up in the air. But when it comes to chipping and pitching, which is less air, maximum roll time on the ground, yes, you want the ball centered to a little back. You want that pivoting, but you want it straight back, straight through, and the shot, the follow through affects, like, think about how you would throw the ball from the loft you want, where you want to land the ball on the green. Just think about what your right hand would do if you were tossing it with your backhand, tossing it to where the height you want, to land where you want, to roll out where you want. Once you have that, there's your swing. Okay? No wrist cock. All right, well, that's it for the search for today on pitch and runs and chipping, which are basically all run shots, mostly predominantly run of the ball. And proper technique will help you hit those better, just like anything to do with anything in golf. Good setup determines the motion, and good technique hits good shots. All right, that's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.